How's it going, Weston?
Good, how are you, Raymond?
All right, all right. I've got room up front if you like it.
How are you doing?
Doing pretty good. What's happening?
Not much.
Escaping the area today?
All the time. I'm headed to New York.
All right, what part?
Mamaroneck, so a little north of the city.
Yeah, I kind of have an idea. I was born in the Bronx
Oh, really?
and moved out to Tucson, Arizona with my whole family, both sides, in 1947. My aunt and uncle were both rheumatoid arthritics, and so the climate in Tucson was better for their survival, so to say.
Mm-hmm.
And it did help them compared to the more moist area of New York.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't. So I grew up being a cowboy.
All right. Tucson.
Yeah,
Huh. That's a big shift from Brooklyn.
big. Well, no, Bronx.
Oh, Bronx. Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, and well, at 7 years old, it was an adventure.
Yeah.
And I grew up out there, so had a good time. Affected what I was going to do for basically my entire life, and actually my very first job affected that. I at 16, during my between my junior and senior year in high school, I was able to get a summer job at a local or nearby grocery store, a couple of blocks away from home, and it was during the time I worked there, very at the beginning, at a big 75 cents an hour. 75 cents an hour. Now
Yeah.
that was in the 50s.
Yeah.
That was in the mid 50s, and but I discovered something. You know, obviously a 16-year-old kid is going to do every crap job there is,
Sure.
Sweeping up and all that, and wash the windows.
Yeah.
But one of the things that changed my life, as I look back on it, was the every week there was new paper signs to put up in the windows of what was going to be for sale, and for the grocery store, and I had to wash the windows, and in that the one day I was waiting for the new signs to come in. I saw the guy show up. There were 4 windows, and the signs were like maybe 8 feet long, 3 foot high, paper, white paper,
Uh-huh.
and red lettering, and
Printed or hand?
hand.
Okay.
Understand that back in those days there was no computers in the
Uh-huh.
50s. I mean, television was still black and white.
Yeah. Yeah.
So color, what? Color signs were probably pretty cool.
Uh-huh.
So I watched them, the cashier, count out the dollar bills, and from my best calculation, the guy was getting $6 a paper sign. So that was a big $24, which at 75 cents an hour was a lot of money.
A lot more money,
So as
yeah.
I'm putting these signs up, I'm looking and I'm thinking, how long would it take to paint one of these things?
Yep.
And so I started taking the old ones home, bought some black paint, poster paint,
Mhm.
and some lettering brushes. Back then, when people were lettering signs, you
Yeah.
could find, but they were red sable brushes, very expensive
Uh-huh.
at that time. But I then started painting over, trying to look at the strokes that were forming the letter, and painted the signs. And by near the end of the summer, I thought pretty good. Was able to follow the stroke, and so I then started painting with red paint a sample sign of what I could show the boss.
All right.
And so I did, and he thought it looked, he wasn't sure that it was the other guy's sign. So in other words, I was able to again, he was reading more of what it said than actually looking at how the strokes
sure.
all came together.
Yeah.
And so I said, how about $5 a piece? And he said, sure. So I ended up at the end of the summer with a job. Then every week I had at least 20 bucks coming in from the signs.
Man, that's
and
a good deal.
And taking 80 bucks a month. What kid gets 80 bucks a month allowance?
You're right.
And well, it wasn't an allowance, I had to work, but it only took me about a half an hour to paint a sign. And the more I painted, the faster I got. But and then you get a little.
And the better they get. Yeah.
So from that point, being doing graphics and signage, I stayed learning more things with the sign shop I went to work for, and silk screening, and kept in that industry. And again, if you wanted a sign, you had to have a sign painter.
Yeah.
You did not have any computer to generate a sign. And I'm almost amazed when I look at the billboards now that are electronic billboards.
Oh yeah.
Where you're seeing a gigantic TV set on the screen, and I guess we first started seeing them at the getting stadiums, football stadiums, and things like that. One second here. I missed that one. Okay, 1 second here.
Hey, okay. I'm actually going to look up what
Sure.
company I'm flying with. I forgot to do that. I believe it's Delta, but.
Did you figure out which one?
Not yet. Delta.
Delta, all right.
Yeah.
Well, from the start, I'll give you the start and I'll give you the finish. I told you where it started, and by the time I was 40, and I had worked in the sign industry and trade show, building trade show exhibits, and having to letter the booths. Are you familiar with trade shows?
Yeah. Yep.
So you don't ever see a trade show. I mean, anyone who goes to a trade show is trying to sell something.
Yeah, of course.
And so I was with a company that was doing the AT&T, the telephone company back then. They were the monopoly, and so every business needed the telephone.
Sure.
But that brought me further up in the league of the more expensive lettering and they called them friskets at that time, where you had paper go down and you glued with rubber cement, then you cut the letter out and you spray in there. Looked very much like silkscreen. But are you familiar with that term?
I am, yep, and Frisket too, actually.
Yeah, all right. Well, then you're into graphics tonight too.
Yeah,
right.
I enjoy it.
But that led me eventually to a patent, which I was able to get. Now that's just a recent sample, but 35 years ago I was able to patent a photo process that kind of combined offset printing and silk screening in the way those two are done, and created a photoplastic that allowed that had an adhesive that you could put an image in, you could expose it, you process it through go through a UV process, and then it opened up the lettering so that when you applied the mask to glass or stone, you then had it blastable, meaning that the next step would blast. And while the mask is on, you fill it with paint.
Yep.
What I'm playing with right now is that short code on monuments, so that a family story. When I moved out here 5 years ago, I realized I had a lot of my mother's memories, and she had passed 19 years ago. And so there's a couple of short codes here that when you are waiting to catch the flight, check it out. You'll see my name somewhere mentioned at Ray in my mother's obituary, and then it's a combination of putting the Forever Miss as a lead-in front door to the Mem Keeper, which is the product that I have just finished building, which is a way to save your family memories in the cloud, so that you have a better job of sharing them than just pulling out a DVD and then try to have folks gather around your computer. So anyway, that's what Mem Keeper is all about.
Pretty cool.
I didn't give you enough time to tell me what your graphic side is.
Oh, I'm a sculptor.
A sculptor?
But I work with, I do a lot of writing and drawing, so I'm into pens and graphic design. It's just kind of across the board, but I work mostly with glass.
With which?
Glass.
Glass. Are you doing any sandblasting?
I do, yeah.
Have you ever, probably you're doing hand cut, like a frisket.
And there's some resist. I'm sure you're familiar with resist.
I am.
Yeah.
Okay, I am Ray of Resist.
Oh, no way.
Yeah.
You're kidding me.
No, it happens.
No kidding.
Yeah, man.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah, it's funny. We moved out here 5 years ago to be closer to the grandkids, but I had retired to the beaches of Florida. Do you know, or have you talked to Randy?
No.
Okay, Randy's he was my first employee, and I sold him the company 23 years ago, kept 10%, and Randy sends me a check every month. He's been faithful, man.
That's a good life.
And so, yeah, he was an underground miner. Out of work, and he was doing yard work and painting and things like that for me. And at that point, I started to grow from when I was just playing with it for myself. And anyway, it's every once in a while I run into.
That's so funny. That's like unbelievable because I've been using Resist for I don't know, 15 years.
Praise God. Yeah, you got a card on you?
I do.
I want to make sure I have your card.
Yeah.
We got to connect, man.
Yeah, you've got to come to South Salt Lake where the studio is.
South Salt Lake?
Yeah.
Oh, cool. I was hoping that you were in the area. You betcha.
I am. Oh, absolutely.
And
let me write my number on there.
Okay. When you say South Salt Lake, are you talking about like in Sandy or whatever?
No, it's 2700 South and West Temple. So it's barely South Salt Lake.
Oh, okay.
Let me get a when I hop out.
Yeah, when you stop.
Yeah.
My mother, I have my mother's ashes at Sandy City Cemetery. If you know Sandy.
Yep.
And so she's the first one. I have one of a small one of the original blasting systems, almost more like an antique, with a small cabinet.
I have to take a photo with you and post this because this is like eternally entertaining.
Well, how about like a selfie? I'll get out.
Yeah, let's do a selfie. That's hilarious.
And I'll show you one. Have you ever heard of O.C. Tanner?
Yeah.
The same thing happened to me. I'm driving this guy up to Bountiful, and we got talking, and he does one of these. You're Ray of Resist?
Yeah.
And they had just bought one of our big systems.
Oh,
for 30 years ago, I could not get into their place.
Yeah.
30 years ago, because they were not doing blasting work at that time.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until they even started buying our regular contact mask for laser cut. Did they even start using Resist? But they just bought within a few months ago a whole system. So they've got one of the total recycling systems.
That's hilarious.
I think it's a $7,000 set.
Yeah.
But they still were not. Well, anyway, when I tried to get in their door 30 years ago, no way. And so through this guy that I'm giving a ride, I'm now in there, and they want me to teach them to do the three-dimensional multi-stage, and that's probably what you're doing.
Yeah, and I do a little bit of sandblasting. Mine is more surface than it is imagery usually, but the guys that I work with do incredible sandblasting, and it's mostly it's hand cut.
Yes.
Yes. But oh my gosh, this is hilarious. It's amazing. It's amazing.
Well, I know we're double parked here, but what the heck?
Yeah.
Until we get arrested. Let me pop that lid, and I'll stand back there with you.
All right. I'll just text you my number.
All right, now let's pull that out. Do you have your cell?
Yeah, I do.
All right, I'll tell you what. Let me. Okay, let me just get over here a second, and let's get that thing on selfie. There we go. Okay. All right. Ready? This way.
You got one too.
Yeah.
Alright, okay. Ready?
And I'll get your number, and this is not an accidental meeting.
No, not at all.
Take care.
A pleasure. Thanks, Ray.